It is exhilarating to us to watch you in this process of choosing. And when we visit with our physical friends, often they do not realize that they are choosing vibrationally. They are choosing through their focus. They are choosing without words, sometimes with words, but often what you think you want or even what you are speaking is different from the vibration that you are actually emanating. So, as you were source energy before you came into this physical body, and a part of it is here, and as you sift and sort in the way that you knew you would as the leading edge genius creator that you came forth to be, as these rockets of desires emanate from you, they are held by the source energy. They are held by the non-physical part of you. And we have begun fairly recently to lovingly refer to this state of vibrational beingness, this state of vibrational becomingness, this eternal expansion of which we are all a part. We refer to that place, that holding place of these rockets of desire that you are emanating as your vortex of creation. And the reason that we call it a vortex of creation is because of the powerful law of attraction, who is always gathering all cooperative components. There is this powerful energy that is swirling, that is the culmination so far of that which you have become. You were source energy before you came into these bodies, and you are source energy while you are in these bodies. But here in these physical bodies, as you are exploring and expanding, the non-physical part of you is becoming with every request that you make. When you ask, it is given. It is given immediately. When you ask, it is given immediately. It is not just that it is given, it is that the larger part of you becomes what you are asking for. So if you are sick, you are asking for wellness, and that non-physical part of you is now weller than ever because of the contrasting experience that you've lived. If you have not enough of something like clarity, in your confusion, you ask for more clarity, and that non-physical part of you becomes more clear because of the specific request that this confusing situation has caused you to call for. In other words, you continue to expand, constant expansion, constantly becoming. Which means there is the potential, we know you have noticed it from time to time, there is the potential of you not being up to speed with that which you have become. You have noticed it. And when you are not up to speed with all that you are, you feel the emotional indicator of that. That's what your emotions are letting you know. When you feel frisky, when you feel exhilarated, when you feel passion, when you feel love, when you are in the mode of appreciation, you are tuned in, tapped in to the fullness of all that you are. And you are allowing yourself, under those emotional conditions, to be seeing the world through the eyes of your source. The whole of you is present in that moment of appreciation or love. But if you are angry or afraid, if you are criticizing or feeling criticism, if you are focused in a way that negative emotion is present within you, that's your indication that right here, right now, you're not vibrationally up to speed with all that you've become. It doesn't mean you're bad. It doesn't mean you're inappropriate. It simply means that you lived your life as you intended to do. You came into this body just like you said you would. You focused into this environment and you explored the contrast, and you became more as a result of it. And the source energy within you has become that expanded beingness, and you, in your negative emotion, aren't up to speed with that. Isn't that nice to know? But when you feel the negative emotion, it's such a good thing, because now you are empowered to do something about it. Now you are consciously aware that there's a vibrational gap between you and you, between the you who is focused here, the powerful you who is focused here, and who you really are in this vortex, who you really are as source energy, who you really are as the expanded being that you've come to be, that you have become, because of what you have been living, because of the exploration of life experience. This is a really interesting conversation, because you're choosing them by your chronic or active propensity to think. In other words, when we say, think a thought, what we really mean is focus. Imagine an emotional scale that has joy and appreciation on one end and true discomfort on the other, like fear or disempowerment. and some of everything in between. And if you've been focused upon something that is causing you to feel discouraged, then that subject has more or less trained you into a vibration of discouragement.
It's like a habit.
It is exactly a habit. All a belief is a habit of thought, which only means that's the easiest thought to think. Those are the events that law of attraction is serving up to you, because law of attraction is giving you that which is close to where you are vibrationally. So if you are just an observer, as you say, you're not just an observer, but you are acknowledging that often you're observing.
Yes.
As you are observing the situation, or even observing the thoughts that you're thinking in response to the situation, what's happening is you're just shoring up that pattern of thought. So a deliberate thinker or a deliberate creator is one who thinks the thought but feels the vibrational indicator of what that thought means. In other words, we said earlier that your emotions, the reason that they work is because they give you relational feedback on the thought that you're thinking and the thought that your inner being is thinking on the same subject. So if you're thinking a thought that is causing you to feel discouragement, what that means is the way you're looking at it is way different than the way the source within you is looking at it. If you're thinking a thought that makes you feel overwhelmed, you're looking at it in a way that's way different than the source within you is looking at it. Now, your inner being can't modify law of attraction to help you. Your inner being can't think for you. All your inner being can do is think the thought the way your inner being thinks the thought, which means you get to feel the alignment or not of the way you're thinking, which means you now have the opportunity to make a decision to think a different thought. Here's where what you're looking for is. If you make the decision to think a different thought based upon the feeling feedback you're getting, it's way easier than if you decide to think a thought by exploring all the possible thoughts to think.
Got it, right.
So if you say, oh, this feels off, I don't know why, and I don't care why, and I don't need to know why, this just feels off. What could I think that feels more on? As you start leaning into more optimism, you might even have to change the subject altogether. But as you find a feeling within yourself that feels better, what begins to happen is the thoughts then begin to gravitate around that. Esther began playing a game. She asked us to help her because she can feel a new process in the work. So she woke up one morning feeling overwhelmed because she'd been working on her things to do today list right before she went to bed, and they were leaving on a long road trip, and she just had a lot to do. So she went to bed feeling overwhelmed, and she woke up feeling overwhelmed. It's always the way that it is. It was about too much to do. It was about people not helping her. It was about people that should be willing to help her not even being at work today. It was about the universe conspiring to make life harder for her. It was about her irritation with people who had it easier than her. Her irritation at Jerry, who was just bipping along doing what he always does, exactly what he wants to do, while she had to do the stuff that needed to be done. In other words, that's where her thoughts were. They were about overwhelmment and blame and revenge. It was a dark morning. And then she got a whiff of the way she felt, and she consciously thought, this is not who I am. This is not how I like to feel. This is not how I choose to feel. I'm going to think some different thoughts. So she reached for a different thought, but couldn't get it. She reached for a different thought, but couldn't get it. Oh man, I'm dug in deep, she thought. I'm sure it's Jerry's fault. So he's so damn happy. So she reached for a better thought, couldn't find it. Reached for a better thought, couldn't find it. Then she thought, I know what to do. I'll meditate. No thought is easier than this. So she sat, set a timer, listened to the condenser in the air conditioner, and managed to detach for about 10 minutes from the active vibration, just detached from it. So she came back into full consciousness, and she's over here in appreciation. And then she thought another thought of appreciation. And then she thought a thought of optimism. And then she thought another thought of appreciation. And then she wondered where Jerry was, and she went right back over just for a moment. And then she thought, wait a minute, I know how to do this. He's not doing anything that he shouldn't be doing. I want him to be doing exactly what he's doing. I'm the facilitator in our family. I know what to do. I've made my list. I like doing this. The reason he's laying low is because he gets in the way when he doesn't lay low. I've sort of trained him to get out of the way. Get out of the way or you'll get run over by the golf cart as I'm moving from place to place. And she brought herself back. And so the first half an hour of her morning, she couldn't get from that spot. But after meditation, it was easy for her to stay over there where she belongs. Now, Esther has been hanging out in the better feeling part of the emotional scale for a while. And it's not often that she gets so overwhelmed. She calls it the 1, 2, 3 punch, where just so many things seem to converge at the same time. And we are always there to remind her that all convergence is converging around the set point that you have established. And if you will decide to make it an emotional set point rather than a thinking set point, it goes ever so much easier for you. So then Esther discovered that she could put herself in the mode like she was going to meditate. But instead of thinking no thought, she could then choose a thought on the emotional scale that is pleasing to her. She focused upon the word ease and flow. Ease and flow. And as she just relaxed into the feeling of what ease feels like, effortless. Ease feels like a cooperative universe. Ease feels like doors opening. Ease feels like good timing. Ease feels like being in the right place at the right time. Ease feels like fun. Ease feels like invigoration in the sense that things are happening around you without your efforting. Ease and flow, ease and flow. And then she discovered that she could focus upon the words ease and flow and get her juices really flowing. And then the thoughts that began to gravitate around those words, which were emotional triggers, really brought lots of good feeling thoughts to her, you see. It is delicious to come together with those like you who are coming more and more every day to know who you are. We've enjoyed this especially today because you came into the vortex with us and in large part knew what we knew while we knew it. Did you feel how smart you felt? In other words, didn't it make sense? Didn't you find the logic of it? Can't you feel your power as you know who you are? We always like it when we have conversations that sort of help you to ease up on your concerns about health and ease up on your concerns about death and ease up on your concerns about lovers and money. Anything that causes you to just let go of your grip a little bit gets you into closer vicinity of who you really are. And because we see so clearly what's in your vortex, it is exhilarating to us to anticipate the manifestations from inside the vortex that are on your very close doorstep. In other words, the thing that is the most satisfying to us about your willingness to play with us in these kind of settings is that when you are deliberate about what you want and contemplative of it and willing to deliberately seek relief, deliberately get into the vortex, when you are consciously aware that you have identified desires and that you are consciously aligning with them, making your emotions important to you. When a manifestation occurs, your sense of empowerment just goes off the charts. And that's how you help to empower others, is by discovering your own empowerment and then displaying it. The feeling of worthiness really only ever is fully understood or experienced when life has showed you that you want it, you've recognized that you're not near it, you've done the work to line up with it, and then you've witnessed the manifestation of it. That's when you feel your power. That's when you know who you really are. That's when you are being who you came here to be.